Good evening, everyone. This is Srinivas Lusaya. Today, I'll be briefly talking about the importance of web development. Yeah. So let's start with why do we need web development? Okay, why as a software engineers, we need to be familiar with web development, and we should be able to do the web development if you're working in a web-based application. Yeah. Um, yeah. Let's go back to the need of web development. As you know, internet nowadays is ubiquitous. Um, so any user can access the internet using a mobile device. It could be a smartphone, or it could be tablet, or through a desktop. So if a user or a customer need to find you or your business, and the first and foremost mechanism through which they discover you is nowadays internet. In earlier days, people were discovering you through marketing material or through telephone numbers. But nowadays, the internet is the first and foremost mechanism through which your customers or your potential clients will discover you. So if you have a website on the internet, then that builds trust in your organization or in you as a professional. And other words, you can say that it improves your reputation as a person or as an organization. So, and to just sum it up, if you have a website on the internet, then it is your first the salesperson which works for you round the clock. Note that a website never sleeps, so it's always on. And depending upon the time zone, it could be, let's say, if this website is hosted in India, but a customer or user is based in, let's say, in USA. So when it's in USA, it's daytime, in India nighttime. But a salesperson in India will not be helping the customer in USA. That's when your website will come in handy. Let's look at let's understand what a website is, and why do you need a website. As I said, website is it creates the first impression of your business to your potential clients and your customers. So you need to create it to suit the needs of your target audience. You don't create a website for yourself. To be used by you. The target audience for your website is your customers and your clients. It reflects, if your website is appealing, visually appealing, then it reflects on your expertise and your reputation. So to have a good reputation with your clients, then you need to have a good looking, professional looking website. So note that once your website is up, since any customer or client will be able to discover you or your business from any part of the world, that means that that will bring you more business. And a website should be such a way that it should entice the user to take action. So here in this case, action is, like, say, it should encourage the user or a visitor or customer. They should give a business to you. So that is the main purpose of the website. So to create a website, you need obviously web development skills. See, you might have heard the words web designer and web developer. So, but not many people understand the difference between a web designer and a developer. So I would like to clear the doubts of who should be called a web designer and who should be called a web developer. Web designer is basically responsible for the look and feel of a website. In other words, the creative side of the website is what is done by web designer. So he basically decides what should be the layout of the page, and what font should be used, what size, what color, and what images where they should be placed. And So to sum it up, the overall branding of your company and you as a professional. So all that should get reflected in the design of the website. So the web designer is a person who creates a visual markup of the website. So so when I said visual markup means he'll use a Adobe Photoshop or any other graphic editing tool and creates a almost a real like a image of your website. Note that uh, until now, rarely a web designer does the actual development of website. And you can also, since this web designer does mainly the creative part of the website, and you can call that person as a right brain person. Generally, it is proven that people who think with their right brain, they are more creative, and people who think with the left part of their brain, they are more logical. Okay, that's where it comes from, right brain person. Let's look at what web developer is responsible for. Web developer, he takes the mockup which is created by the web designer and he brings that mockup to life on the internet. So in other words, that involves the development side of the website. When you develop a website, you need to host it on a web server. So web server could be there on anywhere in the world, but it should be connected to the internet. When you said web server, that web server should resolve to an IP address which will mapped by your DNS. DNS is domain naming server, domain naming service. Uh, like for example, www.google.com or www.microsoft.com. So these names are easy to remember by human users. But unfortunately, these names are not of much use for the machine, that is computer. So these computers, if they have to communicate with one another, they need to have what is called unique address, that is IP address, Internet Protocol address. But these Internet Protocol address are not easy to remember by the human users. So in such a case, you need to do the mapping. So that mapping is done by DNS. So your web server should be reachable through a DNS name like www.google.com. For doing the web development, the web developer needs the skills like HTML, basically scripting or programming in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Perl, Python, Java, Ruby, and few others. So as I said, web designer is a right brain person, whereas web developer is a left brain person. He's more logical person. So uh, he's more worried about how do I implement the mockup web page into a real web page which can be rendered by the web browsers. So you need to gain web development skills to become a web developer. So web designers generally they work with the Photoshop like tools. Okay, so here is the basically the skills what is required for doing the coding left hand side, for doing the design on the right hand side. These are some tools and techniques which are used by the black one is the it's a web designer. The white one on the left hand side is the web developer. Okay, so you need to be a full stack developer. You need to do both front end web development and also back end web development. The front end web development basically involves defining the components that are on the page using HTML, and you need to make them look pleasing visually. So you do this styling using CSS, and if you have to do some interaction with the end user or human user, so then you need to program that using JavaScript. And you have productivity improving tools framework, that is frameworks. You have frameworks for JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. You need frameworks to basically make you more productive, to do a lot of things in a short duration of time. Let's look at what is a backend web development. Backend web development is basically that is the one which creates the page components that dynamically by the web server. So this includes basically your web server should dynamically create the HTML component and CSS and JavaScript. Normally CSS and JavaScript will remain more or less same for a particular website, but whereas the HTML will keep changing for different users. So whenever this web server sends a page dynamically to the web browser, at that web browser side there is a human user who is actually watching your website on the web browser. You can do a backend web development using any of these programming languages: Java, JavaScript, PHP, Perl, Python, Ruby. So note that the main goal of backend web development is to make the response times. The site should be very responsive to the end users. Whereas the goal of front-end web development is to make the website look more pleasing and usable by the end user. So the focus of this webinar is the front-end web development. So we'll not be discussing much about back-end web development in this seminar. So before I go on to the trends, I would like to just give you a picture to understand what are the roles played by HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. HTML, as I said, it defines the structure of the page, and you can assume to be like a skeleton of a human being. JavaScript, it provides the interactivity with the user and provides dynamic updates on the web page. You can compare that to like you need muscles to move the different limbs of your body. And CSS, for once you have the body with muscles, it's not good enough. You need to present it in a nice looking fashion. So that is done by using CSS styling. Let's look at few of the modern web development trends. So there to really cover all the web development trends, it's beyond the scope of it'll take more than 1 hour. So hence it's beyond the scope of the time provided for this webinar, which is 1 hour. So hence I picked up the most important, most usable, most frequently used the trends in the web development. So yeah, here are the few. First one is, I would say, it's a responsive web design. So this is it's becoming a hot trend to make the website responsive. The next one is, earlier days in the initial, like web started somewhere around 1995 to the general public. So almost like 20 years ago. Those days, or even 10 years back, website were more or less static. You'll have some static content, and you'll have at the most some buttons. You click them, you'll get another page, or it'll take some action. Not much of the motion, movement of elements was involved 10 years back. But nowadays, to make interaction engaging, so you need to have the movement of elements on the web interface. And also nowadays, the single page applications is also a trend. If any of you used the LinkedIn page, and there's one section where users can write the articles in their professional expertise domain. So those articles, if you scroll down to the end of the article, whatever is the next article, relevant article, it will come as a continuation of that page. So you'll never go out of that page, means you will continuously keep seeing one article after another. So that is one of the best example of single page application. So for implementing single page application, one of the popular frameworks that are available today, which is gaining popularity, is AngularJS. And until now, I would say until 5 years ago, people were using the tables for having a layout of the elements on the web page, or sometimes people were using div elements, div elements. But that's the old practice. The if you have to be like a professional programmer with adopting the modern trends, then you should be using Flexboxes to get the nice looking layout of the elements on the web page. And then on the backend web technology side, PHP is a well proven technology for generating the web page dynamically. But now the trend is to use Node.js on the backend side. Node.js, note that uh, you can do the coding using JavaScript. So you might have been thinking that JavaScript is required only for doing the programming on the front end side. If you are thinking so, then let me tell you that you can use JavaScript for doing the programming on the backend side as well if you're running your Node.js on the backend side. Yeah, let's start with responsive web design. Responsive web design, the term was coined by a person by name Ethan Marcotte. So he wrote an article on an online magazine called A List Apart way back in May 2010. So at that time, he introduced the concept of responsive web design. So you might be wondering, why do you need a responsive web design? So responsive web design, initially it may take about approximately 30% or 50% more effort initially to make it the site responsive. But what are the benefits you get by making your site responsive is almost the benefit return on the investment what you put initially is almost 300% or even more in terms of uh, the time saved in the development, and also in terms of the user experience and the business it can generate for you. And if you develop a site using the responsive design principles, then in the long run it simplifies the website maintenance. Let's say if you basically making some changes, or if you have to support a new devices, a device with a different screen dimensions, then your responsive web design will come in handy. So let's understand what responsive web design means. Basically your website should respond to the context. So context is basically it could be device orientation, whether it's a portrait mode or landscape mode, or screen sizes, like smartphone will have different screen size, and even tablet is little bigger size than smartphone, and desktop obviously bigger than tablet. And you might be viewing that website on a display medium like screen, or on a print medium, uh, on a printer. So depending upon whatever is the context in which the website is being used, it should give an optimal viewing experience and optimal user experience. So if your website can respond to that, then it is a responsive web design. Yeah, let's see how we can apply this responsive web design principles, and how we can achieve responsiveness in the web development. You um, you get the responsiveness by adaptively styling the page using the CSS, that is cascading style sheet, and you can use other techniques like fluid grids for getting uh, a layouts which change depending on the context. Note that this grid layouts in CSS3, though standard is more or less finalized, but still the browsers are yet to support it. There is not a good support for grid layouts. So hence, as far as possible, you should try avoiding grid layouts. The reason is, I mean, if it is not supported on a web browser used by the user, so then user will not have a good user experience with whatever the browser he or she has. Therefore, as a web developer, you should avoid the grid layouts until there is a full support by the multiple web servers, web browsers. And there's another feature called media queries in CSS-3. So for media queries, the browsers have all the 5 different browsers: Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, Microsoft IE, Internet Explorer, and Opera, and Safari. Note that Safari browser is available on Windows as well, but Safari is quite popular on the Mac OS. So, and another technique is to use the fluid images. Basically, the image should change depending on the size of your browser window. And another technique you can use to make your site responsive is to use the relative units of measure rather than absolute values. So whenever you have to specify a length unit, something related to the length dimension, then you need to specify the units in using either percentages in terms of EM, M, REM, which is root M or relative M. VW is a viewport width, viewport height. Okay, these are the few units you should use for getting the responsiveness of the web page. So note that there are other units of measure like pixels, points, inches, centimeters, millimeters, and so on. So those also can be used for length dimension, but if you use those units of measure, then your website will not be responsive. It will always have fixed layout and fixed size. So even if you resize your window, so you will be seeing the same size elements on the web page. Whereas if you use the relative units of measure, depending on the orientation of the device and depending on the window size and the device screen width, so you can, and then depending upon whether you are printing or viewing it, so you can basically get the responsiveness on the website. Okay, yeah. So this is a graph which shows what is the percentage growth of the web developers in the job market. So this is the trend. You can see that since 2006, the trend has been growing, and in the last few months, it's really exponential. And therefore, see, if you are a full stack developer, then your marketability in the job market increases tremendously.